No, your computer.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see? No. Yeah.
I saw on the Sunday. Nobody's not
Yeah, we'll find out when that was and who was calling him. Because I so far.
It's a bunch of stuff to put that
Yeah. People.
Yeah, but say, I think they were. Yeah.
Jane, do you have the password for town hall guest? I used to be on secure, but this is not on.
Never been. I mean, 1 second, Tim. I know what I think it is, but I'll just give you the name on. Okay. It's right. Yeah. If there wasn't a bridge that I could see, it looked like it was going to come down and mention something. That's what must have come down and they cut the branches. They not remove.
No, that's for tonight. The sewer ordinance
We don't use it.
put on for tonight, and I believe it was no August. Yeah.
We just.
I saw some people with big bill.
Yeah.
So yes, so
Yes.
Industrial park, that's on the 14th.
Business park?
Just the public hearing.
Okay, so we're just announcing what the.
I believe so.
Okay.
That's the way I
And again, it's
understood it.
Yeah. What's that?
again, it says industrial park. Business.
Just, it says industrial business, so that's all business.
I keep screwing up that. The sale and use of the park.
Are we ready to?
Well, it's on that. Yeah. It's my own little pet peeve thing. It's not a big, not a big deal. It's my own thing. Yeah. Not too worried about it. Gives me something to bitch about, and that's all. I mean, without that, I have nothing. With you. Oh, goodness. Well,
Hey, OJ, I can hear you, but I can't see you guys. Is there something going on your side or my side?
we're hiding.
Okay, I figured that.
Thank you for that. She's gonna
we're
work on
looking.
it.
Harrington was just in here fixing this and it's on the rip saw.
Not working. I just put it on the computer again and turn it like we did last time. I think it's better than not having any.
I think it looks.
Is it on, is there anything?
No, it should replace where it says Karina Park. That didn't, yeah,
Yeah, that should be a picture of us.
Yeah,
try again.
so is it the camera?
Are you
Nothing?
Not yet.
thinking something?
Wait, isn't the camera facing you?
No,
It's not doing anything yet.
Right, it shows something.
it should be, we just spent money on this. The laser rip saw, and that's, we worked for the planning boards on Wednesday. So the camera's front. I thought it's my connected, thinking took that apart. It's just.
No, it's.
Yeah.
You need to see this photo.
And it's on the laser rip saw.
Makes it worse.
Right.
And the camera's on?
It's on this, which is sending it there.
Yeah,
So that's why they unplug.
right.
Now let's start video. Let's start some video camera. We select another video camera.
Little kids should be seen,
No,
not heard. It's gonna be heard, not seen.
That's all right, James. We'll just do it tonight without it and then deal with it after. What does that say? On the top right, what does it say?
Oh, it shouldn't say that at all. Okay, I don't want to end the meeting. My mic was just here Friday.
That's all right. You can hear us okay, can't you, Paul?
Yeah, yes, I can. Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to see us, but as long as you can hear us.
We see you.
I would say you better be seen and heard, but I don't know.
All right, then I'm gonna call the meeting to order. First of all, I apologize that the video wasn't working. We just had it worked on, paid money for it, and worked fine for planning board. And
Doesn't like to be
now it's not, so. Has everybody in the room signed in on the
sign-in sheet.
sign-in sheet back there? And Jane, you everybody who's visiting us online?
Everybody's in.
Okay.
Good.
All right, the first order of business is the minutes from last meeting.
Did you have anything?
I do.
Okay, go ahead. I think I have the same thing you have.
All right, first of all, line 30, starting on 36.
Yeah.
I want to cross out the word original. Cross out the words that Centex would have paid back in 2006. After the word tank, insert that was originally approved in 2006, period. Start a new sentence with a capital T.
Perfect.
Then that sentence will read, OJ responded that the South that South Peak has a letter of credit with the town for $1.3 million, which represents the cost to build the tank that was originally approved in 2006. The town has since revised the capacity to a larger, oh, and then insert and higher tank. Is that okay?
Perfect.
All
Yeah,
right, and
you
then,
did the same thing I did.
all right.
Higher might be different.
Higher elevated, higher elevation,
Higher
word
elevation.
elevation in there, yeah.
Right,
Different
Thank
location.
you,
right.
yeah,
because the tank might not be
tall, yeah.
taller,
Good.
it's just located, okay. All right, and then just on line 116, and this was probably my fault because I did not understand that the Big Coolidge condominium complaint is actually the Village of Loon condominium on Big Coolidge Road complaints.
Oh, good catch.
Repeat that one more time, OJ.
Is the Village of Loon Mountain condominium on Big Coolidge Road? Thank you. In the following line, it says up at Big Coolidge condominiums, that should say up at
VOLM.
yeah, VOLM, Big Coolidge Road.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the property owner on the Big Coolidge Road.
Yes, yes, we're just looking at the minutes from our last meeting. At this,
Excellent.
we will be discussing this further on in the meeting.
Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that, yeah, I'm
Yep.
here. Thank you.
All right, were there any other changes to the minutes?
The other thing I had was line 107, and I'm going to be a stickler about this because I've had people mention it one of the last times we talked about it, ladies bathtub.
Mhm.
On line 109, instead of saying bath, but ladies. And that's only because people refer to it, locals, as ladies bathtub and ladies, not the bath. And I had somebody ask me, where's the bath? I'm like, it's
Okay.
ladies. And they said, oh, okay. So that's why. And that's all I had. You covered the one I had.
Fine with the changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 17th as amended.
Second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye. I will make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes of that night as presented.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then the next thing on the agenda is update on ladies bathtub. So, welcome.
I'm Cindy Lloyd, and I am the vice president, and Brian Shaughnessy is with me, who is the president of the Riverfront Condominium Association. And again, from my viewpoint, I would like to thank you for cooperating with us, and I would like to say that this year so far has been a lot more manageable. I don't know if that's in part the weather is responsible. I'm also told other people have observed there's just fewer people in town this year for whatever reason, but it has been more manageable. The police have been visiting the van once or twice a day on the weekend days, and that seems to be working quite well. When there is parking there, they go down into the back. A lot of cars park there. The back parking is full. They will go down into the bath and they tell people, if you don't have a permit, you know, you can't park here. And I have observed, and owners have observed, that those people come up and they leave, and then more people have the ability to go into the bath. So to my knowledge, there has been no ticketing, no parking, no towing. It's worked very well. It's again, it's difficult to tell, but I do know that it is manageable. It has been less of a burden on us. We did have an issue this weekend, and I'll let Brian talk about that. But again, overall, it may be that even with the weather and everything else, that with just those few visits that the police make on the weekends, that there's also word of mouth is beginning to spread. I know you put it on the town site twice. So I think it becomes more known that it's by permit only, that even those, even the few issues we may have will become even more manageable. So thank you for your cooperation, and it seems to be working well with us, and I'll let Brian comment.
Thank you. And to Ms. Ham's comment, I think it's Cindy. She keeps on calling it the bath.
That's fine. Yeah, and I know what she needs here, and that's great. I just, people that read the minutes, they go, what is the bath?
Yeah.
So that's all. It's here is fine. We get it.
Yeah. Now, we appreciate the signs that were put up, and I think that has gone a long way. And it has, we have had the police down there a couple of times to patrol, patrol that, and that's worked out well. We've had a couple owners. One owner in particular is very militant and wants us to be down there all the time, policing if there's a sticker there. It's like, that's not our business. It's really a town resident who shows up and can't get a spot that should be the one complaining about that. So, but I think the patrol's been good, and we just want to thank you for the cooperation. A couple people have asked, well, where should we go? And don't know if they can get down to the old hole. I don't know if it's the parking down by South Peak, if they can actually go there. I know there was something on the agenda to hopefully finish the park. I'm not sure where that is. Hopefully I hear that later in the capital improvement plan, but I'm not sure what to tell them other than, go down to the overflow lot over, and walk up to the hole, I guess.
I tell them, Brian, go to Woodstock.
There you go.
There's nice over the Cascades there. It's a beautiful spot over there. Sometimes there's parking in the area on Main Street, sometimes there's not.
Yeah.
I hear Echo Lake's beautiful.
Yeah, true.
That's a bit of a fee to get in there too.
Yeah, $4.
First of all, thank you for coming tonight. I'm glad to hear that things are working out. This is going to be an ongoing process. It's not like the problem is solved and we can walk away. It's going to be an ongoing thing. And I think you're right that part of this has been the weather and really the lack of visitors to town, which may be related to the weather also. So, we still want to be vigilant, want the police to get on there and patrol, want to hear feedback from you as we move forward.
And I think we're working with our owners too, to try to help them understand things like, if a car doesn't have a permit, don't call me. That again, that should be the responsibility with, and if another resident can't get in there, they should be complaining or calling the police. Our owners, the parking lot and the bath is your area, and you have responsibility for that, and we have responsibility for issues that happen on our property, and that's basically it.
Hopefully, as the word gets out more and more, we'll have less traffic. There is still an issue of people coming in, seeing it's full and then going out. They're not the most mindful. We have a speed bump there, but they're not going as slow as our owners are going. So, but hopefully that'll peter out over time.
Right. And as far as alternative places to go, we have a legal right to park
on Main Street.
On just off Main Street by the substation.
Yeah.
But it's not graded or finished. It's just a line on a piece of paper that we have an easement to. That will be hopefully forthcoming as far as clearing, grading, making it actually parkable. In the meantime, we still have a legal right to the first 300 feet of that levee is public recreation area. You could send them there. Their choices for parking, they can find a place to park. There is parking around. It's technically not town owned or controlled, so we can't say go park on someone else's property. But there is parking there. So if they understand where it's located, they can probably figure out where to park. And the same thing with the other side of the river that, historically Loon has allowed people to park
In the overflow.
in that overflow area and walk down that trail. So,
That would be my choice.
yeah,
That's a nice trail and it's a nice area back there.
yeah,
And I also sometimes, I sometimes tell people you can walk it, because we actually have people that sometimes drive down from like Fallen Brook. You know, they don't have a permit, but they're taking up a parking space, you can walk in. There's
exactly.
no restriction on that. What we're trying to do is just control the car traffic and car parking. But it is, you know.
I don't want to, it'll be contrary to what I've said to your legal counsel, that actually people don't have an easement across our land.
Oh.
So they can't walk across down our stairs.
No, not that. They can walk down West Branch Road to the back, you know. No, I don't mean.
I'm gonna keep silent on
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
it. I don't want to poke a bear.
Jim?
Yeah, if they
Okay.
want to send them someplace down to the Lower Woodstock Fire Station. There's picnic tables, there's a large maintained grass area
Oh, yeah.
where they could lay out a blanket or something. The swimming hole down there is probably as big as the parking lot in front of the jail.
Oh, no kidding. I've been down there
Oh,
for
yeah, that's a
years.
great place to go.
It is. I've been down there in years.
No,
Lower.
Yeah, 175.
Lower Woodstock.
Down in 175.
I mean, that's a huge area of swimming.
I've been down there in years.
Yeah, they've even got the old 175.
The old
It's still-
bridge,
it's
yeah,
still there.
yeah, the old bridge abutment, yeah,
There's picnic tables there.
yeah.
I don't know, but they might even have a couple little cooking grills.
I think there's a porta potty there too.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, now that you say that.
And there's a large rock that you could sit on. And it goes right
Yeah.
gradually down into the water.
Nice.
Also, some of the, like the Cascade area in Woodstock has a play for kids too.
Yeah, they have a large grass area, yeah.
Yep, so it's a good location to go.
I mean, down there, if they, bring football.
So I suggest Cindy, you print up some maps, post them there, go to Woodstock.
Yeah, instead of the.
I don't want
Yeah, I
that to
like-
be the
I like
town's
the old
position,
one, right.
because we do have swimming holes in this town.
Right.
Yeah.
Of which Old Hole is the one that's controlled by the town. There's others on national forest land, there's others on state land.
Sure.
But again, that's why I speak of Old Hole, is because we control that.
What is the update on Old Hole with respect to developing it and making it a, you know, having a parking area down there and, you know, lots of access to the river there?
We haven't done anything official on that because, to be honest, we control along the levee and we have a path that gets people down to it. And there has not been any problem from where the people do park to get access to that. There's been no pushback, and so people are always going to park where it's most convenient. So again, if we build a parking lot over here, they're still going to park where it's closer. So it's almost, I don't want to say waiting for the problem to arise, but I guess I'm waiting for the demand for parking on the place that we control. Also, along with that, we don't know what that development over that the rest of that parcel is going to be, and there may be an opportunity to put in an alternative, better pedestrian access from that same lot in the future. And I'm just throwing that out there as a big, huge maybe, because we don't know what the design is.
And we do have it in the CIP to start funding it so that,
That's what I thought.
yeah,
Yes.
we can do something access in there and we'll have some money to do that with,
Right.
so.
Because that's an ideal alternative. You know, it's just.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Well, again, thank you for your patience and cooperation. I know this whole thing started a couple of years ago, but we're at a much better point right now, and hopefully we can keep it like this. So.
I think we're at an excellent point.
Well, I think it's the exact opposite ends. When it became a problem was COVID and it was hot and nobody could go anywhere other than outside.
Right.
And now this year we've had so much rain that no one wants to go in the river because it's so high or was. It looks good now, but it's cold because it's been running, but.
Just one comment, I forgot about it, was several weeks ago, and I've seen it in the past. Like there's some camp that brings their kids and like drops them off there. We got concerned because they actually tried to do it like 2 weeks ago and the river was like roaring. We're like, what are you nuts? You have like 30 kids on this rock with this raging river, but they did, I think they, you know, they didn't drop them off, they actually went somewhere else, but.
Those are our kids.
Huh?
Those are our kids.
Yeah.
And our kids should be able to go there. They can't used to walk over weekly. Now we take them up to Echo Lake just because it's, you know, the river changed so much up there that it's easier. However, the adventure camp kids still go to Ladies often.
Adventure camp.
Yep.
Which is the older of the two
Correct.
groups.
Middle school age kids. Yep.
They
And
did.
absolutely should be able to.
I wrote like, my grandson.
They did when the river was high.
Well,
Yeah.
they've been going.
But they've also been to
Every week.
Ladies. I think Ladies is the quick go-to without spending the whole day there. When they just have an hour or two, Ladies is close.
Just as an aside, and I don't know how you control this, but we did have a couple of near accidents, again with that same thing, with the river running high and people going down there with those little plastic tubes that they use. And there were two little girls that got swept down, and there was a fireman there that was related to one of the owners that caught them before he was running down and caught them just before they went down.
Bless him, yes.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know if there's, I don't know how you control people. You can't control.
You can't fix stupid.
Yeah,
No matter
I was
how
gonna
hard
say
you
that,
try.
but I was reluctant.
Yeah,
But
you can't.
even, you know, even when it is running high or maybe just, you don't want more signage, but
You can't.
when it's running high, be cognizant, be careful.
We can't keep people out of the river no matter how high or high low it is.
Yeah.
We can't legally do that.
Yes, yeah. But
It's exactly, or how high they are, it doesn't matter, there's nothing you can do. Like I said, you can't fix stupid, no matter how hard you try.
But that was scary, I know.
Well, those little girls are very lucky that that man
Yes,
was
they're
there.
very lucky.
Yeah.
Again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the Lincoln Business Park deed restrictions discussion. This is not the public hearing for this. This is the board's chance today to decide what we're going to bring forward to a public hearing. And a public hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen on August 14th, which will be our next meeting, at the Lincoln Town Hall Meeting Room at 5:30 to discuss modifying covenants and deed restrictions to the Lincoln Industrial Park. Whereas there were 9 lots created within the town of Lincoln, New Hampshire, as shown on subdivision of the Lincoln Industrial Park in the town of Lincoln, New Hampshire, surveyed January 1993 and July 2006 by Saborn Surveying. And whereas 3 of the lots have been conveyed, and the town currently owns 6 of the lots and wishes to modify the covenants and restrictions applicable to lots 1, 3, and 6. The public is invited to attend and participate in the hearing.
Are we like personally sending this to the 2 owners that are there? I'd like to make sure we physically mail it to the Donahues and the Sullivans. Please.
Mike
Thank
Penny
you.
is on.
Yeah, he's on, but I still want to mail it to him.
Yeah.
So we were in, we had discussed this previously, and as a board, the only restriction we're looking to change is B, which says any commercial or light industrial use of these lots or the structures thereupon must be of the type expected to require regular on-site staff supervision and employment. No use primarily intended for storage or other unattended purposes will be allowed. So the town attorney has drafted a agreement to modify the covenants and restrictions and has come up with new language for B, but has also included in the agreement a new restriction I, which kind of spells out what course the town can take if we wanted to do this again in the future, change the restrictions on the park, which is probably a good idea, just to include that now rather than hire another attorney in the future and have him tell us what to do. So B would be completely eliminated as it's written, and the new B would read, no self-storage unit or units of any kind shall be permitted on the conveyed lot or lots, and no self-storage use shall be permitted on the conveyed lot or lots. So we talked about it at our last meeting that covenant B was really influenced by the desire of the people who drafted this at the time and the selectmen at the time to prevent some of these business use lots to be used for self-storage, which was very popular at the time. There was all kinds of building of self-storage units going on. And this was their intention, was to not permit that in the business park. In doing so, they also, well, the language also eliminated plumbers, electricians, tradespeople, construction workers, whatever, because
That are on site all day long.
they're not on site all day long. They're out working in people's houses, condos, developments, etc. So we're looking to just change that one piece of these restrictions. And then the second thing is to add a paragraph of covenant and restriction I that says, the town shall have the right to impose different or additional covenants and restrictions in any future conveyance of any of the remaining lots within the subdivision of the Lincoln Industrial Park in the town of Lincoln, New Hampshire, surveyed January 1993 and July 2006 by Sayborn Surveying, Inc. Provided that any such different or additional covenants and restrictions shall not, without express written agreement, apply to the lots owned by the current lot owners. So in other words, we can
Read that again.
the town shall have the right to impose different or additional covenants and restrictions in any future conveyance of any of the remaining lots.
Provided
Provided that any such different or additional covenants and restrictions shall not, without express written agreement, apply to the lots owned by the current lot owner.
Okay, never mind.
So in other words,
No, I get it.
Yeah.
It was a
we can make changes in the future.
written
But we
agreement
can't
was
impose
the
them on
key that I
people
missed.
who
That's all. Yeah,
On the lots.
unless they want to with their written agreements. Correct. So if we in the future, but this goes through and 5 years from now we sell a lot and or decide to change it and add another one. But it would be to the benefit of the current lot owners. They have the option of adopting that as well, correct?
I guess they could.
That would
they
be
could-
the express
They could
written
voluntarily
agreement.
change their deed, or they could just abide by it without changing their deed.
Or put, well, wouldn't that would be
No, it says
express
they have
written,
to have a written agreement.
express
That's
written
what it says.
agreement? That
Right,
would
so they
where it
have
would
to
come in,
agree
right?
to-
Yes.
Because one of the current owners could say, or the future owners could say, I don't agree with that covenant. Therefore, you can't change it without my written.
They
It
don't
doesn't
have to
apply
change
me.
They
theirs.
don't have to change it. That's what
Right.
this is saying. They don't have to change it.
Right. However,
No.
if it would be to their benefit, they have the option
They
to.
have the right.
Yeah.
Give written agreement.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
That they want to.
They want.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I missed that express written agreement when you said it the first time, that's all. I agree with Jason's suggestions. And I think that is what we should bring forward to the public hearing on the 14th.
Yeah, and again, I think Mr. Donahue and Mr. Sullivan, Bill Young Sullivan, will be getting copies of this because they have to attest that they agree to this.
Yes,
That's right.
absolutely.
Right, they need to sign.
Yeah.
Right.
The current.
Correct.
Right, so if that
And they may have,
if at the public hearing, or if after the public hearing, we agree to this wording, we still need to get, Donahue and Sullivan to sign the agreement.
and if
Now,
they don't
obviously-
agree, we don't change it.
If they don't agree, right, we kind of go back to step one and then
Right.
see what they
Start over. Yeah,
want to do.
Then it'll be recorded at the registry.
right.
Then we record it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep, no, I'm good with it.
all right, this is not a public hearing. That's gonna take place at our next meeting. So we're just voting tonight that we're taking this language to the public hearing. So now everyone is on notice as to what exactly it says. So all those in favor of bringing this to the public hearing as read?
Aye.
Aye.
And you want to mention that if anybody would like to see a copy of the current covenants, et cetera, they can get a copy at town hall.
Yep, everybody hear that? If anybody wants to see what the current covenants are on deeds, they can get a copy at town hall, because there are,
Or email townhall@lincolnnh.org and Jane can forward it to them. That's easy enough.
yeah, there are numerous others, but we're not at this time considering making any changes to any of the other accounts. So, all right, that's all together. All right, next thing on the agenda is the Recreation Department Capital Improvements Plan. The town of Lincoln and town of Woodstock had a joint meeting a couple weeks ago to discuss all of the joint projects of the town. The thing that took up the most amount of time was taking a look at the Kank Rec area and really acknowledging that there are capital improvements that need to be made. We've been doing things all along. We just expanded the parking area. Our town crew did a great job with that last year.
We fixed the drainage a few years
Fixed the
ago.
drainage
He
a
did the
few years
lighting.
ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's been constant upgrades and things made, but there's no, I guess what I would call overall plan for what does this need to look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And one of the things that we acknowledged during that meeting is that there are some deficiencies with the current building, especially related to bathrooms, where, you know, that was built as a fairly primitive base lodge for a tiny little ski area, and now it functions as the headquarters for a fairly substantial summer programs with dozens of kids there every day. With
The bathrooms don't cut it.
with inadequate
And those bathrooms are actually put in by Rotary. Years ago, there was one single bathroom when it was originally built.
Okay,
And Rotary added that on to have two separate bathrooms. So in the late, no, would have been the early 80s. So yeah,
okay.
a few years ago.
So anyway, rather than just looking at this piecemeal, like, okay, what do we do with the bathrooms? The discussion evolved into, let's have a group of people who have a vested interest or some stake or involvement in the Kank Rec area. Kind of look at what the long-term needs are. We had, if you remember, was brought before this board a invitation to build a deck with no charge to the town.
A viewing deck for the ski slope.
To look out over the ski slope, which sounded real good.
Awesome.
But we didn't want to, you know, rip holes in the roof and the walls and extend things out that were then going to interfere with
Future plans.
anything in the future. So we wanted to like do that, but not do it in such a rush that it screws up building plans or restricts how we can.
Moving a door or
Exactly.
access or, yeah, having a closet or it's.
So at the joint meeting, the decision was made that we would ask the Friends of Rec, which is a long-established, successful nonprofit group, not associated with the town. It's not a town committee, but certainly works hand in hand with the town in working at the Kane Rec area. Ask them to lead the process of coming up with ideas and then prioritize those and see what direction the town should go in with that. I mean, do we add bathrooms just onto the back where they are? Do we locate them? Do we put this deck out front? Is that a priority? Do we need to do anything with the kitchen? There's all kinds of questions that came up. And to be honest, I'm not there often enough to offer any real valid opinion on what we should do first or second or last or skip. And I just think that having some of the people who are there in active positions, you know, that they should participate in that capital improvements plan. So the joint boards decided to ask the Linwood Friends of Rec to lead this, but to invite other stakeholders. Specifically mentioned were Jimmy and Vicky Martin.
Aaron Lowe.
Of course, Jim Martin was the one who volunteered to build the deck with his crew, his company. Aaron Loutz, who ski coaches there on a daily basis all winter. And there was some other people mentioned that we were going to ask or make sure they were aware of this and could join the Friends of Rec's meetings without actually becoming a member of that group,
right,
but could join their meetings to do this vision planning session. So I wanted to make that, first of all, make that public again, even though I made it public at the joint meeting. And then I want to put this in writing to send to the Friends of Rec, make sure that they understand what we're asking them to do and what their role is. So I've proposed this letter. I've sent both of you a copy, and I just wanted, now that you have it, to discuss it in public. I could start off by reading it,
Sure,
and then we can talk about it. So, at the most recent joint meeting of the boards of selectmen from Woodstock and Lincoln, the boards agreed that ideas for the future plans of the Kane Rec area should come from a broad group of active and interested parties rather than just the selectmen or other town officials. The joint boards decided to ask the Linwood Friends of Rec to lead a process that sought input on the future needs of the Kane Rec. Our thought is that you invite all of the stakeholders and active volunteers and participants in a brainstorming, evaluation, and prioritization process that concludes with a written recommendation to the joint boards of the prioritized improvements and additions needed at the Kane Rec area. We will use this report as a tool in planning for the capital needs. Please let us know if the Friends of Rec can fulfill this request. Our hope is that this process can begin as soon as reasonably possible and can be completed by year end. So I wanted to bring that to the board to make sure that that was in line with what we had talked about at a joint meeting. And just also to make sure that people understand that we will use this report as a tool in planning for capital needs. In other words, they are not taking over the role of the CIP committee for the town of Lincoln.
Right.
The CIP committee for the town of Lincoln, I would hope, just like the Board of Selectmen, will look at this report and take it into account when doing their capital budgeting. And then our hope is that this process can begin as soon as reasonably possible. They're already aware of this request, but not in writing and not, I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And they have a meeting scheduled for.
We finalized it this morning, actually. The meeting is scheduled for Thursday, August 31st at 8 a.m. at the Kank. So that'll be our first meeting, and then we can decide what days and times work best for others at that point. And I'm gonna, I know there's Wi-Fi over there. I'm gonna talk to Sarah, see if we can Zoom it, because I know Aaron Loutz will be teaching, or we'll have in-service day anyway at that point, and hopefully we can Zoom in for at least part of that meeting. And then maybe others that could Zoom in. So let's see if we can get that going.
There hasn't been a meeting yet.
No,
I'm sorry, no. It's summer. And to try to get everybody together in the summer was impossible.
No, because the director presented a number last week at the CIP
Yes.
meeting.
That was a number we asked her to start funding at this joint meeting. The board asked her or told her, we know we need to do something. we knew she had a CIP meeting coming up, and we asked her to put something in there and to start funding it, because we know something has to be done.
Okay, and the CIP, I'm the board's representative on the CIP committee, just for the public. The number presented was $2 million.
She needed a placeholder.
And, you know, I mean, people said afterwards, people that heard that, said, what's going on over there? And I said, nothing at this point in time. I said, obviously, if that was ever approved, you know, either it's long-term or it's bonded. If it goes to bond, then the entire community would vote on it.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, there's discussion about the need for
It
improvements.
was, she said that at the meeting, it was a placeholder.
Yeah, and well, she said she had an architect already looking into a design. Pro bono.
We've invited an architect to the meeting to help us with
Okay.
this whole planning thing.
Well, that's what she indicated, that
Right.
there was somebody.
Yes.
I said, great, come with a schematic of some type, not architectural drawings.
Right.
So, you know, see what. the
Well, she did
concept
what we asked her to do, but the CIP committee didn't, and she sat there and said, the selectmen asked me to start planning this. And the CIP committee said, well, we didn't hear from the selectmen, so, which,
Well, I am a select.
I know, but I don't know why you didn't back her up right there, because you should have, because
Well,
we did
she-
ask her to do so.
Well, no, she did, that's not quite the way it went.
I was there.
I know, so was I.
Yeah.
I've got a copy of her letter that says $2 million.
Yes.
You know, when somebody hits me with $2 million without any backup or anything, then very hesitant.
Well, if we were to replace the building, it would cost at least that. But we don't know if that's gonna be the case yet. She went with the worst case scenario, which is what happens in a lot of planning tools when you're trying to start planning. The worst case scenario is, for instance, Riverfront Park. Worst case scenario was $3 million, and that's what's in there for Riverfront Park. We know we're not spending that on it. Well, I mean, now we might end up spending that, but at the time, we didn't plan on spending it. However, it was the worst case scenario. That is
Well,
typically what.
I don't see us spending that on that
Oh,
part.
God, no,
Because
no. However,
federal grants have been paying it so far.
oh, with the park, yeah, no. I
But-
was kind of joking when I said.
Right, I just want to make,
And I do want to point out before we go too much further that, before somebody says, well, what's Woodstock contributing? Nothing. The capital at the Kank is 100% the responsibility of the town of Lincoln. We get all the capital, we take care of all the capital, but we also get all of the revenue. Woodstock doesn't get any revenue from the Kank, from the ski area, from day camp, from any of that. That all stays in Lincoln. So we get all the revenue, we're responsible for all the capital, which is different from the community center, but with the Kank. And Woodstock pays half of all operating costs. So insurance, payroll, et cetera, et cetera. What we do all the capital. So that's why Lincoln is planning it in their CIP and not Woodstock.
I think between the Kank rec area, the community building and the solid waste, I believe Woodstock contributes a little over $600,000 total.
They
Well,
do get revenue also from the solid waste. I should say. I didn't mention that, and I should, yeah. Which is not, I mean, if you compare what it costs,
so
the revenue, it's not a, but still, we do share the revenue and capital expenses at the solid waste facility with them, as well as the community center. I just had my head wrapped around recreation, that's all.
but you know, going back to the CIP discussion, we know that there's gonna be future needs, like the bathrooms. From what I heard, and again, I'm not involved and I don't wanna pretend I know what's going on up there. I believe it's a huge community asset, but I don't have kids in that age range and I don't use it.
Do you plan on having any kids on that?
No, but when they put the pickleball courts up, I'll leave it to you.
That's right.
But I do think that the bathrooms are an issue, and even if the whole dream scheme is $2 million, we need something in that CIP
I
to
agree.
address the bathrooms.
I agree.
So, okay,
I
so,
mean, that's when somebody's got to ask for it.
She did.
well,
She asked for it last week at the CIP meeting, and she was told no, because the selectmen haven't seen this yet.
No, she asked for $2 million.
No, she asked to start funding the project that we told her to start funding.
Oh, she didn't ask for that.
$2 million
She
was
asked
the placeholder.
I got, so regardless of what happened at the last meeting, can we agree that something needs to be funded sooner than later, hopefully this year, to address the things we know have to be addressed no matter what the future plan is, which starts with bathrooms.
Right.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so that will not be a zero, or we would not expect that to be a zero coming back from the CIP.
Absolutely not.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Then the other thing I wanted to say, the last sentence is, our hope is that this process can begin as soon as reasonably possible. We talked about August 31st and can be completed by the end of the year, just because we would like, I guess I would like, at least I'll speak for myself, some sort of idea for the Board of Selectmen and the CIP committee to know by the end of the year what we're looking at as we prepare budgets for town meeting.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yep, I agree with that.
So, if we're good with this letter,
Yes, I think we should definitely send that.
then we'll
letter
send
to
this,
Friends of Rec.
send it to Friends of Rec.
We can do that through Tara, obviously. I also want to, while we're talking CIP. It was specifically said that the CIP would not put anything in Tara's budget because it hadn't been put in front of the selectmen yet, although it had. However, the CIP committee did eliminate something out of the public works budget completely, even though it was something that the selectmen years ago had asked to be put in there, which was a sidewalk snow blower attachment on the loader. Remember when there was complaints about the sidewalk tractor throwing snow in it, and we thought we may have to load it into a truck or whatever. That had 130-ish thousand in it, and it was eliminated by the CIP committee, completely off of the CIP, and it replaced with a new excavator and lowboy trailer for public works, without going in front of the selectmen at all. They just arbitrarily made that change. Not to say Nate doesn't need an excavator, maybe he does. He's rented one every year for the last 3 years that I can recall, so having an excavator is probably a good idea. However, I do think that is something that the department head should bring to either the town manager, well, it should, to town manager first, and the selectmen after that to okay it or whatever. It's something that should be brought to not just, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not the CIP committee's job to eliminate things off the CIP and replace them with $200,000-300,000 worth of equipment without going through the town manager first.
You're wrong.
Hold on, Paul. Jack has the floor.
Well, that's why I said, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Now listen to Jack to correct me.
It's not wrong, it's just your interpretation, which is incorrect. The department heads met with the town manager prior to coming before the CIP committee a while ago. And I think early June, was that correct, Jane? In early June, they met with Karina.
There, yes.
Yeah. So they then tell Karina what, they need based on, what's in the budget now.
Sure.
When Nate Hadaway, the director of public works, came before us, he was the one that requested that blower be eliminated. He said an excavator would be more valuable. I know if the chairman, Paul, who's on, or Jim Spanos, we didn't say, I want this, I want that. What do you need, Nate? You run the town's, infrastructure. You run the town's equipment, not Jack Daly, not Paul Bowden, not Jim Spanos. And it was Nate that wanted that, Tammy, not us.
It wasn't Nate that asked for it. It was suggested and he agreed. Absolutely.
Well,
that he agreed that he didn't need the
I
blower.
couldn't tell you what he needs and what he don't need. He speaks and I listen.
Well, the CIP meeting, it hasn't been posted on YouTube yet because Karina's still on vacation. So once it is, we can rehab this discussion because we heard two different things.
And then so again, I was on that committee for many years, and
if it is
the CIP committee has again, that's a planning board
right
jurisdiction meeting.
Sure.
And they do have, at least when I was on it, we added things a little, we'd ask the police chief would come in and say, we don't need this, but we do need this. And
thank you.
Changed priorities, added things.
Then I stand corrected.
So
thank you. Nope, that's fine. I didn't think it was their purview, but I was wrong
if at the
this one time.
end of the process, there's a department head who asked for A but got B and really wants A. That would be a
Then they can
conversation that we have
reevaluate
with
it,
the
yes.
board, but don't forget, the CIP committee presents that, gets approved by the planning board, presented to us, we fund the
Right,
proposed budget.
right. So if the department head comes and says, the selectmen asked me to start funding this, the CIP committee can still say no. We're not funding it, even if the selectmen ask you to put this in here and start funding it this year, the CIP committee can still say, no, we're not funding it.
Technically,
That's not,
they're wrong
Thank you.
for it,
that's
and
not the way it works.
but
Okay.
again, don't forget, they can come forward with whatever plan they want, and we can say no to the plan.
Right,
It's our budget that goes to the budget committee.
right.
Now, historically, we've been on the same page, we're very close.
Yeah,
And that's how I would anticipate this ending up, that,
Yeah.
you know, if Nate would rather have an excavator, no, I don't say rather, if he sees a greater need for the town to have an excavator
100%.
than a snow blower.
And I don't disagree with that at all. I actually, when it was going through that, I was thinking to myself, wow, Paul, good job. That was what a great suggestion, because you're right. I think the snow blower attachment was useless as well. And I do believe you can use an excavator. And I actually made a note. I was going to, for the first time, I think ever, call Paul and say, hey, good job. I think that was great. Until he totally disrespected.
I never got the call, Penny.
Was sitting there saying the selectmen at the joint meeting asked me to start funding this. And he said, no, because it hasn't gone in front of the select. I haven't heard anything from the select. So that was, and then I changed my mind. I thought I'm not going to call him and tell him anything. But
All right.
I love you too.
So that letter's gonna go out to the Thunder Rec. Can we copy Jim and Vicky Martin on that? Sure. Copy Aaron Lux on that, and there was another name mentioned at the meeting. If you
I have it in my,
direct have it.
I have it in my contract notes, but I don't have it here. I am the,
I
I know.
remember who it was. And I know when as soon as they said, I'm like, oh, of course.
I am the treasurer for the Friends of Rec.
Right.
So.
All right, next thing on the agenda is a sewer use ordinance. We are having a public hearing. First of all, just for background, the sewer use ordinance is required to be updated every 5 years by the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. We have come up with a new 52-page ordinance. And I shouldn't say it. It's 52 pages with all, it's a red line version. So the old wording and the new wording are there. Once you get rid of the old wording, it'll be much more condensed. But I read a 52-page document with what the old one says, what the new one says. This has been vetted by Nate, Director of Public Works, Ray Corber, our town contracted engineer, and has been reviewed and approved by the DES, which is the big thing. Because any ordinance we pass has to be approved by them. And, a lot of this is very technical stuff. There's been a lot of rewrites of our ordinance to match the current state law because the 5-year-old ordinance is out of date. I went through it. And to be honest, I only read the red line things, the things that were eliminated, added, or changed is what I read.
It was riveting.
It was not riveting, and it was difficult to get. Just the definitions took me like 4 nights. But I'm exaggerating.
It reminded
There's
me,
a lot of
yeah,
definitions.
there's that movie where she keeps running up to the dictionary to look up the word and run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are 68 defined words or phrases in this. But there was nothing that looked out of line.
No, I agree.
There was nothing that raised my eyebrows and made me question. But again, a lot of this was kind of over my head. I'm not even some of the whatever chemicals and.
Yeah, well, I think DES has to sign off on it.
Exactly.
If there's anything that they disagree with, they'll let us know.
Yeah, right.
Deal with that specific.
So we are required to have a public hearing on it. We're doing it at our next meeting. We posted the time at 6, and I think that's because the other one was at
5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
The industrial park. Public hearing. So we will do this at the next meeting. If you want to read the so the revised, we do have the red line version, which in my opinion is the easiest to read. You
And it's
can just,
all
again,
also available.
request
email.
that by email or in
Yeah.
person at the town, and you can go through and read that. Anything else we need to say about that?
No, sir.
All right. Now we're gonna go into old business. Last week, last meeting, we responded to a letter from Mr. Tarani regarding a condo in the village of Loon. Since that meeting, we've got a second email, but he's also online here tonight. I would invite you to speak to us first.
Yes, we'd be happy to do that. First of all, who am I speaking with? I apologize. I don't have all the names on the screen.
So our video camera is not working tonight.
Okay.
So me who's speaking is OJ Robinson, chairman of the board.
I'm
Okay.
Tamara Ham, vice chair.
I'm
Okay,
Jack.
nice to meet you.
Nice to speak with all of you.
Nice to speak with everyone. So I'm just going to start quickly with a quick bio. I just wanted to read a very small paragraph. As I said, for the last 18 years, my wife and I, Gail, and I have owned a condominium at the Village of Loon, 15-3. Our 3 children, adult children now, our family and friends have enjoyed skiing, snowboarding, hiking, enjoying White Mountains, beautiful foliage, obviously in fall. We never had any issues with any neighbors, our neighbors, HOA or town. We have been paying our taxes on time, followed the New Hampshire laws and HOA rules. We hope one day our 3 grandchildren also get a chance to enjoy our house and beautiful Lincoln. So that's our little bio. And so we are, as you all probably have received our reply back to the email, reply back to the town manager's email to us. We still have concern over safety, liability, and obviously encroachment on our property. And we have written a detailed email. We have written several detailed emails. We started from day one. I shouldn't say day one because when we got there were like 2-3 days before the neighbors started the project. They wanted to build a mudroom, which is fine, under slab, which we have no problem with. We never had a problem with, except that they added a doorway, the side doorway. And that was after the fact that we tried many times to reach out to the neighbors, to the HOA, and to the town. And finally, we had to go to town to ask to see if they received a permit. And then that's where we are right now. They continue building, and basically we were ignored from day one. We have pleaded, and we're hoping that we can perhaps resolve some of these issues. There's serious issues, a concern about our obviously liability and safety, and frankly, encroachment to our property. As I said, we have no issues as long as they have their mudroom, the door, as the HOA guideline says, bylaw says, the HOA says any doorway has to be under an existing roof. And now it opens into our property. I know there's an issue of under our roof. I'm sorry, it opens under our roof. I know there's an issue of PUD and all of that. It appears to me, at least indirectly, the HOA has admitted that this is our property, that they can't encroach on our property. So they kind of removed the stairs, the step that they set up initially to for their platform to become legal, to meet building code. from 10-inch, drop down to the ground to something that meets building code. They removed it. They removed it now. They put something. They're trying to play with the law, go around the law. Well, we're just going to just leave it on top of your your land. We're not really attaching it to their doorway. Anyhow, so we still have concerns about safety, liability, and frankly encroachment. And I mean, obviously they're building under our roof, and we just my wife just picked up our warranty deed, and she'd be happy to read it to you if you like. But anyhow, it says basically anything underneath our structure, underneath our roof, our porch, anything that extends, regardless of PUD, it's our property, and I cannot build under anybody else's deck, even though you can walk through it. We don't have any issue with that. I don't understand why, obviously, this is allowed to build an open, a doorway in an opening, which it doesn't meet town spec. It doesn't comply with the HOA, and frankly, we have objected to it because of the safety. It's extremely hazardous. We have seen sheets of ice weighing hundreds of pounds dropping right where that stairs is, where they put that step. And we have seen kids playing there. God forbid, one day, whether it's their kid, their family member, their guest, our family, anybody could get hit by that snow or ice and injure, or God forbid, cause serious injury. And that's not right. That's why they said that the doorway has to be under the roof, under their existing roof. Our doorway is under our existing roof. Theirs should be the same. So that's, again, I don't know if Paul wants to speak. Please go ahead.
Where did the doorway used to be?
The doorway was under the awning, under the roof. There's a picture of it. Clearly, it was facing the street. And there was a good awning there. Obviously, they wanted to build a mudroom, which is fine. We don't have any issue. Yeah. And there is another, because of objection, there is another property. Build this correctly now. I had sent a picture, I believe. Right. They build it correctly.
So the picture of the one with the doorway in the front is not this particular property? Is that correct?
No, this is not it. I'm sorry. This is the
new construction.
Right.
Okay. So when I look online at your property card, at the property photo, that old open way is always where the doorway was?
The open way was not a doorway. It was just the opening. They have that throughout the village of Loon. It was just the opening. Just light in. I don't know what the purpose was opening. The door was facing the street, which was again, if you look at the street, the doorway faces the street, so does our doorway. You know how our doorway faces the street, the parking area, so does theirs. So they turned the door and put it sideways, that they have to step out of that doorway into under our porch, under our roof rather. And then in order to make it legal, they put a platform there, because that's a 10-inch high platform. It doesn't meet the doors. Yeah.
Okay, so that opening was always there. So all they did was put a door on that opening and then close off the front.
They put a doorway on it, which, as I said, is not the definition of HOA. Is not it doesn't meet building code, town's building code. There's no step, is 10 inches or 12 inches high. Again, I'm not sure the 10 or 12 inches high. And without putting, a structure on our property, which obviously it's outside the building permit that they received, or even the HOA's permit they received, it would not pass. So if somebody goes there, measures with a tape measure, you see that platform is about over 10 inches high. And unless they put something on our, a piece of concrete, pour concrete, the step or whatever, it doesn't meet the town. Once they do that, they're encroaching our property. It's outside it violates the permit they received, because the permit says exclusively their permit is just for their slab.
So you're 15 Big Coolidge Road, is that right?
We're 15-3.
3-4.
And,
Yeah,
the next door, the one that the issue is, what is that one?
15-2. They're in the middle.
15-2. Okay, thank you. I was a little confused there.
I apologize. Again, I thought that everything, but we'd be happy to send you emails and pictures and before and after. So
Just so we're clear, when you say the door used to face the front,
right, it was in the back. It was parallel to our door, the same distance.
All right, well, let me finish my question.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Was this door that you're talking about between the living space and the open mudroom space, or was it between the open mudroom space and the outdoors?
I apologize. I don't understand. The door, basically, if you walk through the mudroom, the mudroom, you took a right, the door was like 3 feet back, which if you look at our door, our existing door, if you just take our door, just moved it 3 feet to the left, that would be their door facing the street. And the mudroom was open. That area, that opening was open, the front of it was open, which is, the piece of it, which the front is how they got off. That was their actual, walking out.
They come out this way.
Or that way, yeah.
So technically they could go out into that mudroom and they could either walk straight ahead with no door in their way, or they could turn left and walk out that open way with no door in the way, correct?
Right. That was something open. It's like, if they walked underneath our deck, we wouldn't complain. If they went underneath our, our roof, we wouldn't complain. But now it is an official doorway, and they have to put something there to make it legal. So that's the difference.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what has the homeowners association said about this, and have other units in the complex had similar type of construction done?
Sure. There are a couple of things. That first of all, the homeowners association, they have a vested interest. They're working with these contractors. They have been working with these people forever. They're building stuff without any permit from the town, without basically anybody's consensus, and they're just building it, and they're forcing down people's throats. They didn't follow their own rules. If I show you the rules, says you have to, notify your next door neighbor. They did not. They said that their bylaw says that the doorway has to be under your own roof. It's not. They ignored dozens of emails I sent out, and they didn't respond. They're just like, we're going to shove it down your throat. I hate to say that. That is exactly what their attitude was. Yes, they build other structures illegally, but I don't think that is a reason, and is not pertinent to us. We don't really, I'm not concerned. Somebody else got to deal with it. If they have built something illegally, they got to deal with it. It's not.
No, I was just asking, sir, I was asking for clarification to see if it's a past practice been accepted by the homeowners association. Sounds like you have an issue with the homeowners association there. If you're telling me, excuse me, sir, if you're telling me that they're not following their own regulations, that sounds like, you should start with them and then maybe come back to the town.
What we have, and I apologize for interrupting you, but we have, and we have numerous emails and to the town, to the only concern we have is that obviously they are trying to get the town sign off on this, so they're off the hook on liabilities. they have already sent us a letter that we do not accept any liability, any concern about dispute over deeds. I'll be happy to send the email that I received from the Homeowners Association president. So that's what they say. I mean, we don't have any issue if you don't want to get involved, except that you wanted to remove the side door, which is added, which is encroaching to our property zoning permit. If you just want to give them a permit to build a mudroom, absolutely, we don't have any issue with that. But as soon as you put that side door in there, then they're like, you know, we have to come to the town to say, well, don't give them a permit because it violates all these issues and it's going to cause safety. So that's what we're saying, that as long as if you want to give them a permit to build another mudroom, we have absolutely no question, no problem. We deal with the HOA, but because they put the side door there, now town is officially is going to, you know, allow them to build, and that's our concern. So
In the email dated July 21st from the town manager, she indicated that the approved land use permit was to enclose the existing concrete slab. There has been no permit issued to construct a step or alter the walkways and/or common land. We received the documentation that the proposed improvements were approved by the HOA and are consistent with other units within the development.
Yes, that's a true statement, except that we obviously, you know, we're objecting to the side door. The side door is the key thing that is they added to the permit. And that side door, if you have a side door, you cannot have an illegally built construction. I guess the town, I know they want to make sure that they don't, you know, build something that doesn't meet building code. So if you give them a side door, there's the only thing you can do, make that side door work, is give them a permit to make that side door official, I mean, legal, right? I mean, it's like saying that I give you a, you know, I guess I can't come up with an example, but it just doesn't make sense. It's like, what if it was 2 feet deep down there? Would you give them still a permit to build? Obviously, the side door, it doesn't end there. If they put a side door, they have to put something in on our property, under our roof, to make that legal. So if you remove the side door out of that, and you just say, you know, we'll just give you a permit for the building, you know, enclosing your existing mudroom, that would be fine. Then our issue would be with the HOA. The problem is that they made up this stuff after the fact, doesn't meet building code, town's building code. And, you know, and that's it. They're basically, many times they just wanted to get it off their back. Say, hey, look, we just do something, so you guys deal with it.
Okay, may I ask a question? Has the permit been closed? It was indicated, I believe, that it's been closed, and I don't know how it could be closed if it doesn't meet the spec based on the step that needs to be placed there. So I don't understand how the town would have even approved the building structure without having the step included.
I guess I'm confused over what is being considered your land versus homeowner association land. And when you call it under your roof sticks out. I mean, I'm looking at a picture here, 1.5 feet out of your building. And it seems like that step is about the same distance off of your building. So when you say under your roof, can you define what you mean?
Well, the doorway opens under a roof. So if you measure it from the the roof from our you know, the side of the house, the doorway opens under a roof. And as I said, the PUD, that was the concern, or the excuse they brought. It's a PUD thing. But if you wanted to put that step, you have to violate, you know, town's zoning permit and the permit that was issued. Means that now they have to set something up outside the building, the permit that they got for that platform. So outside the platform, and is emphasized by the town manager, by everybody, even the permit says the building has to be only on that platform. Okay, if you don't think that's that's not our land, then they got to get a survey, somebody surveyed, make sure their insurance company knows, God forbid something happened to somebody, I don't want to be responsible. It's my roof. I showed you guys exactly where the snow and ice falls, right on their doorstep that they built. As I said, we're trying to be reasonable. We begged them, we pleaded with them. We said,
prior to building it, we
prior
asked
to
them to
building.
put the door on the other side.
Well, I guess I understand your concerns. I guess the town is not in a position to get involved in a jurisdictional dispute on who owns what. I mean, if that goes under your roof, I'm guessing it might be by an inch or two, but it doesn't look it from the pictures I took and from my observation. I went out and looked at it after your second letter, because it's like, okay, maybe I don't understand this, but when I got there, I didn't see it really under your roof, certainly in front of it, certainly where the snow goes, but I question whether it's on your land or on a homeowner's land.
Well, we pay taxes on it.
Wait, I'm gonna talk until either I'm done or you interrupt me again. You asked that they obtain a zoning permit by hiring a surveyor or informing their insurance company to accept liability. We can't require someone to make insurance company notifications or hire a surveyor. We require put anything on their building permit on their land. And to me, I don't know if it's on their land or not. It might be 1 inch over. I don't know. But again, we're not going to step into the middle of that dispute. If it's on your land, you would need to carry that dispute. And again, you're talking about the step on your land, not the door, not the doorway, the town is not going to get involved in a legal dispute between two neighbors. We certainly aren't going to force someone to hire a surveyor or force them to write to their insurance company. We've never done that before. And then you go on to talk about what the homeowners association didn't follow their own written permitting process. And if they didn't, that's shame on the homeowners association. But again, the town can't enforce homeowner association rules or procedures. Understand your plea. I wish the neighbors could get along, but I don't know what the town can legally do here about this. I see a porch that was enclosed that had an opening that people could walk out under that same roof in the same location. And I'm not sure whether, again, that's on homeowners association land or your land, but if it's technically your land and that original design allowed them to walk out the side of that mudroom and onto your land, that would be, again, really an issue that the homeowners association would need to address.
I just wanted to ask, so that the town itself absolves itself from any liability to from issuing permits to things that are considered unsafe?
I did not say that.
Okay, I'm just asking the question because that's where our biggest concern is safety. These people are now stepping out under our roof and the snow is falling and potentially could injure somebody. And we're just concerned that the town issued them a permit to do this. And, even the step, regardless of whose land it's on, is in a position where it's dangerous. So I don't understand why the permit would be allowed and closed.
I guess, Paul, do you have a comment, a suggestion? Please go ahead. Okay.
I can't recognize by the board. So.
No, I appreciate it. As I said, may I speak a little bit? Again, I apologize if I, went over when you were discussing issues. I just wanted to say that if town doesn't want to involve with this thing here, then they should please remove that side door from the permit. And then they say, we just give you a permit to build a mudroom on your platform, and then let them discuss it or argue with us on the door where the door is supposed to be. When you sign on that permit that yes, we agree to that, this is a permit that town issues, makes you liable. And I have no way to fight them because they're like, okay, well, town signed on this thing. What do you want from us? That's exactly what they say, to us. If town says, yeah, this is great, go ahead. We sign off on this, it's perfect.
Can I make a comment?
Excuse me, Paul. Have you suggested, if safety is your major concern, that the owner put a little overhang over the door so if snow falls down, it falls on an overhang, not on children?
No, we as I said, there's other major concern, but this is one of them. Again, that homeowners association has already said that we do not want to change the configuration, the look of these buildings. So that's out the window. We don't want them to change. We don't want to put something to change our view or our look of the building. This is obviously other concern. We have already said there's encroachment. We know that. And the reason I said that getting a survey, because if you issue them a permit, they have to put a step to make that legal. And then that step goes to the zoning again. Again, for them to say, yes, this is our land, we want to put this, they got to get a new permit from town, say, yes, this is our land, we want to, the PUD, whatever, we want to put our step in here. And in order for them to do that, they're gonna get a surveyor. Somebody survey the land, say, yep, it's your land. And this guy, even though we pay taxes on it, and it says on our tax things, the government issue thing says 0.04 acres, and this is 0.03 acres. I understand the PUD, all of that. That's okay. I'm not, again, arguing about that. But for them to use it, to have a legal doorway from side of the building, they have to build something as they have done, put something on our land. And that changes the nature of the permit. The permit says just on that platform. So is the HOA's permit, by the way. They're not supposed to, HOA says their permit is only for that slab of concrete, build a module. So with all due respect, we are asking either remove this, the side door if possible, or the permit for the side door, or ask them to move the door, makes life easier. I mean, but if this guy sells and, 2 years, 3 years down the line, somebody comes there and a big sheet of ice, hundreds of pounds weigh, hit the kid, I've seen kids playing over there. I have pictures of it. Hit a kid, what's gonna happen? Who's gonna be liable? I mean, I understand you say, it's HOAs, it's your thing, but we know there's an issue. We know there's a safety issue. Town knows now. Everybody knows that. We should do something about it. And we're pleading, we're begging from you guys to, for them to do the right thing, because maybe costs a little bit now, but in the long run is the right thing to do. Just put the door on the other side. It's gonna solve all the problems.
With all due respect, if the door went out the front, the roof that's over that front door is lower, but much longer section of roof than is over yours. So if any snow came down, theoretically, it would be a larger load of snow. It might be dropping less elevation. It could be a larger load.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not increasing or decreasing the risk. Every unit every unit where the door opens under the pitched side of the roof, metal roof up in your development or any other place in town has that risk.
Right. It's
So-
then the risk is on their land, on their property, on their thing. Absolutely. I have a risk myself. I can go under my own roof and some piece of ice falls on me. It's my roof, it's my liability, and I take care of it. If the snow falls from 8-foot roof that has been there for 40 years on his kids or himself, he can take care of it. That's his liability. That's his insurance company. I'm not liable. He's liable for his and I'm liable for mine. So that's what we're saying.
Okay, we understand your point, and does the board want to make any decisions or motions or?
No.
I guess we're not gonna make any changes to what has been already decided.
And what is it being decided?
Appreciate your input, and I think
We have staff. It's been looked
the
at.
decisions of the staff
Yeah.
stand with the existing permit and construction.
Agreed.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Could you please repeat that? What was the
We're
decision?
not gonna make any decisions to change any of the decisions that the town staff has made regarding permits that have been issued.
And what is your reason to do that?
We believe this is a homeowner association issue.
You heard our questions, you heard our arguments, and you heard us agree that we're not going to do anything. You can.
Thank
Could you please then move this to your legal team, see if they have any concern about our concern, anything on the safety and liability, and could you please ask your legal team to write us a letter that that's your decision based on knowing all the concern that we have voiced.
We appreciate your input. I think the board has made their decision and we're done discussing it. So thank you for joining us, and hope you can work out something with your homeowners association.
It's a shame because obviously I'm very disappointed because it seems like you just made up your mind without even considering what we were talking about, and that's just a shame. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Thank you for coming. We're going to continue with our regular business meeting.
We have next on the agenda, we have under old business, we talked about the lease agreement we have with Loon Mountain regarding the tower up at the top. We lease that space from Loon Mountain. Right. We're extending the lease agreement. Yeah, for the antenna. Communication equipment. Right. For 2 years up in the Gondola Summit Ski Patrol building. We also make use of a portion of the existing ski patrol building. And I think this is pretty much the same.
The highlighted area.
Yeah.
Is that the change?
Yeah.
All right.
Jane did a great job of going through word for word highlighted for us. Thank you
for
that.
doing this.
Yeah.
It's just we're naming Loon as an additional insured under the terms of the said policy, as we did before. The change is on a primary and non-contributory basis to any insurance otherwise maintained by Loon. Such indemnity shall extend to injury or loss to employees of the town of Lincoln or its subcontractors while using or performing services on the premises. And the indemnity obligation under this paragraph shall not be limited in any way by limitations on the amount or type of damages, compensation or benefits payable by or for the contractor or its subcontractor under Workers' Compensation Acts, and contractor expressly waives any provision of the applicable Workers' Compensation Act which would otherwise provide immunity to the contractor from such indemnity. Town of Lincoln shall provide a certificate of insurance to Loon evidencing such coverage at the time this agreement is executed and at any other time requested by Loon. And other than dates, the rest of the contract is the same, it's $60 a month. Are there any questions? All right, I'll make a motion to, actually, this is to be signed by the town manager. I will make a motion to authorize Karina Park to sign the new proposed lease agreement with Loon Mountain for the communications.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
We have the contract, proposed contract from Weston and Sampson to do the engineering work on the Route 3 water main. This is for designing it, doing the permitting, doing the work of the permitting. It doesn't include the fees we might owe the state of New Hampshire or whatever. But the permitting work, the bidding, the vetting of the bids, right up to the point of assigning the contract to a contractor. And then it goes on to talk about insurance and all the other stuff. I read through the contract. I didn't see anything.
I did too. I'm fine with it.
They, this contract does not include the construction management. We didn't want to be tied to it, although it might be logical to have them do it, but that would be a separate contract. Right. Again, depending on the scope of work, we want them there every minute the guys are working. We will do a separate one for this, for the, clerk of the works type thing.
The dollar value.
90, yeah, it was $100,000 minus a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
99 something.
Which is kind of what we had thought it would be.
Yeah, we whatever the numbers, we talked about it at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Real. It's 90,975 plus 8,750. So $99,000. 99,725.
Yep.
That's right what we thought it would be.
Yep. So that's the final contract sign. I think we approved that. I mean, voted to agree to that number last time. So I don't think that needs a vote.
Okay.
We also need to agree on not using the PA 28 form in 2024 for our assessing, which we typically
We've done that before.
do not, and I don't understand what the difference in the forms means, but we do this every year.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we agree to not use the PA 28 form in 2024.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have an application for reimbursement to the towns and cities in which federal and state forest land is situated. Town of Lincoln. Within the town of Lincoln, the state or federal government own 4 parcels of land, which include Fay State Forest, Franconia Notch State Park, the 2nd Presidential State Forest, and the White Mountain National Forest. And they reimburse us, but they don't pay us full rate taxes on that property. And this is just to sign the application, and all of the tax cards are included in this.
Does it list total acreage? Just out of purely curiosity's sake.
Bay State Forest, I'm rounding numbers here, but 696 acres, Franconia Notch, 3,855. Second Presidential State Forest, 1,002. And the White Mountain National, oh, I'm sorry. Those are all wrong. I was reading the values per acre. Start over.
Yep.
Bay State Forest, 134 acres. Franconia Notch State Park, 3,541. Second Presidential Forest, 1,174. And the White Mountain National Forest, 74,185 acres.
I was curious.
That's just what's in the town of Lincoln.
Right.
Can I make a comment, OJ?
Sure.
I think it's a travesty that everybody else in Lincoln pays their taxes based on what they owe and what their value is, and that the government does not pay its full rate value on all of the land that they own. It's called payment in lieu of taxes. And my father fought this for many, many years. And I think it's terrible that everybody else in the town of Lincoln pays based on the rates, but that the government does not. And anything that the town of Lincoln can do to increase that amount, they should do, because it's just not right. It's not right at all to allow the government to not pay their fair share of what they own. And they control it, and they tell us what we can do with it. And it's not fair that they don't pay their fair rate of taxes. All the business people, all people, I mean, come on, it's not fair. It's been going on for years, and the town's been overlooking it for years. And I don't know what options we have, but I can tell you what, I think you ought to take a look and see if there are any other options out there in order to get some more revenue for the town of Lincoln for land that they should be paying taxes on.
Can't disagree with them.
I remember your dad arguing that back in the day.
For years, OJ, for years. I mean, and nothing's ever been done about it. And you know what? I mean, it's unfair for everybody. It's not just the homeowner, it's the business person, it's everything. And it's not right. And I don't know, I mean, we talk about landmark court cases for schooling and funding and stuff like that, but you know, you take a look, if you really listen to what you said about how much property they own and took a look at what they pay for a tax rate, it's crazy. It's not right. It's not right. And you know, we're losing out. We're losing out on a lot. All
right. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
I got one other thing, and this really should be new business, because we haven't discussed this before. I don't know if did you see the letter from Nola Clark Grant?
I did not.
Okay, I didn't see it till tonight.
It just arrived this afternoon.
Oh,
at about 4 o'clock.
3:35 this afternoon is when we got it. That's why I didn't read it until, but I'm going to read it right now. Actually, without reading the whole thing, which is public information, you can ask for a copy if you want to, but she's talking about the Lincoln, town of Lincoln, welcome to Lincoln flags or banners that are hung up in town.
On the telephone poles, yeah.
And there are 14 of these SAB Route 3 banners on Route 3 North. The cost to replace them is roughly $300 per banner, including the hardware. This is from a private quote from Lincoln Signs. Is it possible to keep the aluminum hardware and just replace the banner to save on costs? I believe it is.
We can replace what needs to be replaced as
we have. And basically she's making a request that if we cannot afford to replace them, can we just take them down rather than having to be a detraction?
We did ask at one point, because we both noticed the same ones. And in Nate's defense, when we got the new ones in, because we've been doing so many every year.
6 a year.
Yep. He put up the new ones, and I mean, he is having an extremely busy summer, and he's still 2 people short. And yes, I agree. They need to come down. Maybe we can get him to make it some sort of a priority. However, having a flushing toilet, a place for that to go has got to be above placing flags, which is what he's been working on, is the equipment down at the sewer treatment.
The sewer treatment plant, and again, I know this is not a hot topic of conversation in town, so no one knows what's going on down there, but we had I know.
Right.
The big excitement in Lincoln has all been at our sewer treatment plant, where we had $80,000
ish grant.
Piece of equipment.
That was in a building, had to come out.
But it was, the building was built around it.
The building, so putting it in was put in, and then the building was built.
Right.
Now we had to take it out,
And
50 years later,
without ruining the building.
and put a new one back in. And,
right.
and where did the new one come from? Wasn't it overseas?
Yes.
It traveled many miles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it came from overseas. Anyway,
It was European manufacturer, so yeah.
We've been waiting months and months to get it. Now it's when it arrived, it then needed to get the old one out and the new one in. That project has consumed the staff, along with things like the washout on Black Mountain Road.
And we did ask, why don't you just hire someone to do it? Well, we could, but it was a 2-year wait list. So if we wanted it done now, which we needed it done, then Nate and his team had to do it. And so
they figured a way to get it out of that building without taking the roof
without
off,
ruining the building.
or otherwise ruining the building. And did to rent some equipment to do it, but they did it in the house. So
I can't agree with Nola more.
His reduced number of crew have been exceptionally
very busy.
We did talk about this. He will take those down. Her offer to pay for new ones, but deduct it from the taxes is
not legal.
You can't do that.
Legally, that's not,
I actually obtained actual updated figures, so we know what it will cost in preparation. 14 replacements with the hardware, it's not that much, is $2,450. But I'm gonna go up Route 3 and take a look myself. And if we only replace 10, it's $1,850. So then $300 of that, essentially.
And if there's only, you'll take a ride and check it out one day. Okay. Maybe we just put the rest of them in the budget this year and stop doing the 6-a-year thing and just get them done.
Yes.
Okay. And put the whole thing in the budget this year, and we'll save Nola's letter and we'll bring it to the budget committee meeting. I know it was the budget committee meeting that decided pretty much that the suggestion was made by a budget committee member, and I can't remember who it was. Can we do so many a year?
That's right.
And everybody agreed, sure, let's do that. Well, it's backfiring. So, because they do look like they're horrible.
I drove today, I drove by, and you brought it up, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. The ones that are up, and it's not all of Route 3, there are a couple of new ones up in Route 3. But there's some real, are those 3 years old?
They're longer than that.
Okay, because the budget committee plan was 1/3 every year. 3-year cycle.
COVID, we couldn't get any, so there was 1 year.
I think that we went without buying it.
We couldn't get them. We couldn't get them.
So I think the 3-year thing will work if we can get 1/3 every year. But we need to play catch up.
Let's catch up
and do it. My thought is, let's see where we stand like in November with the budget. Because
and maybe do a few of them.
If we could do 10 of them, and get them and then have them ready to go out first thing in the spring, I think that'd be
not a bad idea.
And I agree, because I thought about it, and I just don't think it's feasible to put brand new ones up now. It's already August,
right?
With winter ahead, and they're going to get back.
Right. We'll see where we are at the end of the year with the budget and order them for spring.
Okay, good idea.
In the meantime, and I don't want to nag Nate because I know he is so busy and he's doing an amazing job for the town of Lincoln. However, if he gets a spare minute. Which, and
again, we've also asked him to, in his spare minutes,
I know,
a bench on East Road, the pavement on the corner of Pollard and
Benches.
there's a list
going.
while he's down to employees. He's still down too, so. And speaking of the bench, it arrived.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I believe there is some assembly required.
Okay.
And probably not this week, but next week they're gonna try to get it on East Burr at some point. So
Okay.
I had talked to Nate this morning and it did arrive. So
Excellent.
Cool.
yeah, once it's assembled and ready to go, they're gonna put that in. So
Sounds good.
we had other,
We have two things to discuss in non-public.
but we also had another email from Barbie about, yes, Rodney.
Yes. Do you have that email?
Sure.
We have a letter from attorney Dennis to review, and we have a complaint form that relates to a town employee. Both of those we discuss in non-public.
This says, good morning. This is Dr. Felgate's 50th year at the Little Medical Center. It would be fitting for the town to recognize his support and contributions to our community. The presentation of a plaque and a thank you would be most appropriate. A written acknowledgement in the Littleton Courier would inform the community of his remarkable service. I will leave this in your capable hands. Thank you for your service as well. And that's signed Barb Hooker. Thank you, Barb, for that.
Yes, I was not aware.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we should definitely do something, no question. Why don't you and I brainstorm and we'll come up with something and get that done, and then we can
easily.
we can report on that at our next meeting on the 14th.
If you have a, a proclamation, just send it around by email so we can read it ahead of time, and
And then we can make
and
it
we can
official to
talk
the
about it. At
14th.
least we'll know what we're coming into at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Be that email.
Absolutely, yeah. And we can make it official at the next meeting in 2 weeks or something, yeah. Perfect. Maybe we put a bench with a plaque on it.
Actually, not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Like the one that we just got.
Like the one in, seriously, like the one in front of Arnold's house. They call it the Kenny Pelosi Memorial Park.
Looks nice.
Yeah. It does look nice in front of his
Is
house.
there
Did you
anything
see
else?
it in front of his house?
Yes,
The bench,
yes.
the chairs.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it looks great, yeah.
Is there anything else we forgot under old business or anything else?
Not that I remember.
Yes.
No.
Jane, I received a call, I guess 3 or 4 nights ago, from a gentleman that lives in one of the condo associations. He's a property manager there. One of the tenants that was there on a short-term rental received a knock on the door from 2 individuals, 2 males, saying, "We're rental inspectors."
Oh.
And the woman's family was out, along the river. She was there alone. And she said, "What do you mean? Well, we have to check smoke detectors, make sure this unit is habitable." And she says, "I'm not going to let you in." And so she called the owner, and the owner said, no. And she let the property manager know, who called the police department to see if these individuals were doing this around. But that's a big scam. So I'd like to see something on our website, potential scam. Because there's no such thing as a rental inspector. And we should notify Granicus. Maybe they want to put something on their
Good
list.
idea.
We can do a blast email,
Yeah,
right? Through
Through
Granicus.
Granicus.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, I have.
I was totally unaware of that. We should do that. I mean,
100%,
that
yeah.
would cost us nothing other than a little bit of labor to
Right.
send out a blast email to every registered
Short-term
and say,
rental.
look, if someone knocks on your door, we don't do that.
Right.
Right.
There's
We're
no
not-
such thing. No
And
building
maybe they
inspector.
post something in their unit so that renters know not to let anybody in.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, scams like this have happened in different parts of the
That's scary.
state and the Massachusetts, if I can speak personally. Where 2 people, "Oh, yeah, we're here from the fire department, we're just gonna," they show a
What do
badge.
they do,
And
rob
they go
them?
in, yeah, and then, "Oh, Jane, this is a smoke detector," and the other guy's ripping off her purse or stealing something out of their bag. So that's what you don't want to see happen. And
That's
God
horrible.
forbid, she had let him in. So
I'm
anyways,
glad that she was.
word to
smart
the
enough.
wise.
Yeah, I mean,
That's scary.
thank you for bringing that up.
It will.
Yeah,
Okay, we can do that tomorrow.
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anything else?
Have we heard anything on the grant for Riverside Park? You know, that we got from.
We haven't yet, no.
Haven't heard
Yeah.
They don't, I don't think they were releasing it till September. So we won't hear anything until after that.
All right,
Have Ray and
Novus.
Novus, thank you, completed the grant?
As far as I know, they are still working on it.
I say, I
I
don't-
don't think it's due until, it's due till the beginning of September, so
Yeah.
we have
I
time,
think
yeah.
we're still.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on now to public participation, if there's any. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. I have several. On your deed restrictions for the industrial park, and I understand you're gonna have a public hearing, but can you inform me of who the town would be? Is it, would the changes in your, I think it was I or whatever your amendment would be, who is the town? Would it have to come before the vote of just a selectman, or would it be the vote of the town?
Selectmen.
I'd say this, the selectmen would have jurisdiction over real estate matters, which would be that deed restriction.
So the deed any change in deed restrictions would come before the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen could propose it like you're just doing now, and that's how that would work. And would you have another public hearing if you were going to change it? I'm just trying to look at, you know, the semantics of how it would work. Would it work like you're doing it now, or would it be something different where you could just meet at a regular Board of Selectmen's meeting and say, we're going to change the restrictions, and you don't have a public hearing?
Well, the way it's listed or described in there, it doesn't, that won't require a public hearing, but perhaps maybe that's something we add to the stipulation. Once we've had the public hearing, then we can figure that out, but.
Right, and that's all I'm looking at, is that at least, you know, having something so the public could have comment.
At the hearing, we'd love for you to bring this up at the hearing, because that would be important for that hearing.
That's fine.
Absolutely, thank you.
I can certainly do that. I was just trying to find out who is the town, you know what I mean? And how that
absolutely.
The Kank. So it's paid 100% by Lincoln. The Kank CIP was brought to the committee last week, and it was brought as a $2 million addition. There was not a lot of information that was provided as to how and what it was going to be used for. And what the CIP committee did was we said, look, we need more information. And we actually talked about how it would be incorporated with the Riverside Park and whether there would be any amenities down there. And instead of just saying that it was a $2 million request, we said, you know, tell us what you need. And similar to like the the police department. I mean, whatever you're going to use over at the Kank, and maybe you're going to use some amenities down at the Riverside Park, and maybe it's more than $2 million. I don't know what it is, but we said, you know, we need some more information prior to putting it as a request for the CIP. And we asked if the Board of Selectmen had been informed about this and if they'd taken a vote on it, and the answer was no. So that's why we said at that time, look, you know, we need a little more information before we put it on the CIP. The committee was not saying that they weren't willing to put it on the CIP. It was just that we needed more information, and that wasn't available. And Tara said that she would get it. So just so we're, you know, all correct on that.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Now that we've had the discussion and sending that letter to the Friends of Rec, obviously there isn't an answer, and there won't be an answer until they go through that process, and that may not end until December. Does the CIP committee, just knowing that process is taking place, consider that enough information to at least include something this year, knowing that at a minimum, we need new bathrooms and that's gonna cost a lot of money.
Well, I think there's two things, OJ. I think that there's already money available to be spent within the CIP for the Kank Rec. And if the request was to come for a specific item, I would see no problem with that. But I think that if the request is to be, just like for the police department and every other thing, the town building and everything other thing, if it needs engineering, if it needs, I mean, if you take a look at the police department, they hired a group to come in and try and help them figure out what they needed. I mean, I think that somebody needs to start that process and say, we need to figure out what it is we want. Do we want a bigger Kank building here? But if you're, as you said, OJ, if you're just looking for bathrooms, then there's money that's easily done. It's easily done through either the regular recreation budget or it's done through the CIP. But I think if we're going to look at a bigger, broader scope and you're looking at a $2 million project, I think we need more information. If you're just looking at bathrooms, I think it's pretty easy to do. But if you're looking at a bigger, broader scope, that's something that's for the future and you know, then I think you need to, I think it needs to be, it needs more information. Does that help you? Does that tell you where I'm coming from? I can't speak for the committee, but.
Right, okay, it answers half the question. But the way I look at it, there's some things in the CIP that are very specific. Like we need to replace the 2017 pickup truck. Okay,
right.
We all know we're talking about that one pickup truck. There are some things in the CIP that are much broader in scope, that like police department communications equipment. That's been on the CIP since before I was on the CIP. And what the communications equipment that we need changes. We buy something, but then there's something else that needs, and we have other, I guess, mini goals within that communications line item. I see the Kank building infrastructure to be a broad category that are going to have mini goals as we go along.
Like that.
Step number one might be the bathrooms, but what's step two? We don't know yet. We don't even know what 3 and 4 and 5. So let's look at the bathrooms and start funding for that, because we know we need those. I mean, it'd be great to do it next year, to be honest.
Yes, no.
And
I've got no problem with that.
Okay.
I just don't want to spend good money after bad. I think Jack said that last CIP meeting. But anyway.
That's exactly what we don't want to do. We don't want to put bathrooms
right.
2 years from now. We shouldn't have.
We don't want to keep re-spending.
You
know, I mean, and
however, we also don't want to fund, $50,000 worth of bathrooms and a kitchen and a new entrance in 1 year. We wanted to do that over 7 years.
We want to start now.
And we know those are the 3 big things that we aren't going to be able to live without.
And right, and I think that the CIP committee is supportive of a lot of that. I mean, but there were comments made by some of the CIP committee members that they've had some comments from townspeople about the current use of the Kank Rec and how much money it brings versus how much you want to put into it. So when you're looking at things like that, whether I agree with it or not, doesn't matter. You still have to come up with the reason why. And I think behind every successful project, or if you want to make this a big project, you still have to plan it. And I don't think that cherry picking here and there and keeping going is necessarily the right way to do it. I mean, if you take a look at the way the police department went, they got approved at a $6 million police department. I did not vote for it, but the majority of the townspeople did. And the reason they did was because the police department came with all the necessary information. And I think that if the Kank Rec wants a $2 million or $3 million or $4 million, whatever it is, that they really need to do the homework and whatever it takes necessary to do that. I don't think cherry picking projects and saying, okay, we need a bathroom here, we need a tent over here, I don't think that's the way to do it. I think the way to do it is to pick it as one big project and do it and see where the support is for it. You know, I mean, that's the key. I mean, there's always people that do support it and people that don't support it. But I certainly support the Kank. I think it's great. But I think that the town's growing fast. You know, I mean, and what we need is a long-term plan for what the current Kank property is going to be used for, and what other services may be used for, like it down to Riverfront Park or things like that. And you know, I think it's time to do that. I mean,
well, you heard the letter that we wrote. That's we're starting that process. It doesn't. It should not. The CIP should not seek to fund anything. You should not stop and say we're not going to fund anything until we know what the 10-year plan is. We know we have to replace. What's that? We know we have to replace the bathrooms. We know there's going to be other improvements, changes. That money could be set aside, and then we don't spend it until we know what the long range plans is. So we don't build bathrooms that we then either have to move or we can't do what we want to do because the bathrooms are wrong place.
We all know that sometimes what happens is we put money into a CIP, and then the CIP gets changed. And instead of
like
doing
the snowblower attachment,
what happened,
which then got turned into an excavator.
Correct. Yep. It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it goes through a vetting process. It gets discussed at Board of Selectmen's meetings. It gets discussed at Budget Committee meetings. It's not like this sneaky group goes in and changes those things. It's a well-vetted process. If we put money in for the bathrooms and we all decide no one needs bathrooms, we can use it for something else. Right. But I don't see that happening.
Right.
So why don't you put a request in the CIP for bathrooms this year then? Instead, and just leave it at that.
Because then if we don't need bathrooms, we have to change the whole thing. But if we put it in infrastructure and decide that we want to do the entryway before we do the bathrums, we can do that.
Tammy, didn't you just tell me? No, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't want to belabor this. I'm sorry. You know, it's the wrong place to do it. I'm just saying, just ask for what you need, I guess, is all I'm saying for as far as the CIP goes.
Sure, she did.
I just know that the CIP committee, when I was on it, did not want every year the police department to come in with a laundry list of communications equipment. So we bulked it all under communications equipment. And every year we talked about what that included. At the Kank, we put in tank infrastructure, and every year you can talk about what that includes. All right. I'm thinking bathrooms are number one. But once we buy those, there's something else. The heating system's going to need to be replaced at some point. The roof's going to need to be replaced at some point. Keep going on and on. The kitchen.
Well, as I sit here, Rose, and look at the CIP, because tomorrow we have a meeting, and I was supposed to study it tonight, but I don't see anything for Kank rec infrastructure. I see all sorts of other things, but there's not a designation for Kank rec.
There is. Tammy has it. We just looked at it.
Where is
it?
I'll tell you the item number. Hold on.
Well, it says it's actually number 81 on the first page.
Oh,
it says
108.
It says dugouts and lighting.
108. Under ski slope. Under ski slope page, I don't know what page, 29. Number 108, ski slope infrastructure.
Well, I got, Tammy, I don't know what you got, but I got on number 20, page 23.
Yeah, this
is Kank infrastructure, dugouts, lighting, etc.
Oh, so there's another one, Kank rec infrastructure. Oh, there's a whole $2,000 and $2,900 in there.
Yep.
Well, hey,
so
there's a toilet or two.
This Kank rec infrastructure under the properties and buildings, and is ski slope infrastructure under ski slope subcategory of Kank rec.
Underneath the snow guns and the groomer and the tow engine.
Yeah, she needed to get us an estimate.
Yes, it says right there.
Needs estimate.
So she put 2 million as a placeholder because that would be the absolute worst case scenario if you had to replace everything at the Kank. That's what the estimate is.
We're really looking for a placeholder until this roof gets done, and then it goes to the board, and then it gets discussed by the budget committee. put in whatever number you want for the placeholder.
Right, last
Okay?
year, they
We're
were,
not ready to
Yeah.
put that number yet.
well, last year she got a hard time because it said need estimate, so she wanted to have a number in there, so she picked the.
Well, and
scenario.
instead of asking for 2 million, why didn't you just ask for $20,000 or $50,000 for this year?
You
know,
still would have made her.
Well, you understand the concept. If we
know.
put in 20,000, the next year she wanted 2 million, you would say, why didn't you tell us that last year?
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't be happy with
because-
the way approach.
Yeah.
You guys do
Okay.
what you want.
Is that
I mean,
it?
really.
All right.
Put in a number
Is there
in there,
anything else?
placeholder.
Okay, all right. We
That's
can
my
discuss
request.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
my request for the
All right.
board.
Hey, look, I have two other quick things.
All right.
The poor gentleman tonight, I think, OJ, I agree with you that the town is not responsible for taking on issues, and the planning board has always said that as far as homeowner associations go. However, I do believe that we have a code enforcement officer, and that if there's a code enforcement issue, the code enforcement officer should take care of that. And he has the ability to call in the state fire marshal to check with the building code, as they have done in the past. And I think this gentleman, and I'm sure you probably don't agree with me, but I'm sure that this gentleman probably wouldn't mind having somebody from the fire marshal's office come in and say whether or not there's a life safety issue there. And I think, this gentleman's bringing it to the town. I think between code enforcement and the fire marshal's office, I really think that the town should put at least that amount of effort in there. And that's all I'm going to say. I know where you went. As far as Rodney Felgate, he's
No, let him finish. I'm happy to let you talk.
50 years, he deserves something. There are very few people that worked with Dr. Felgate. My mom was one of them. But if you do anything, please let me know, because I would like to be able to get her there.
Absolutely.
She was the front desk and a nurse for Dr. Felgate for many years. I think she's the only surviving one that currently to date.
Wow.
But yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely will. Well, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, public participation.
My name is David Brzezinski, and I am the homeowner in question that we've spoken much about this evening. The only thing on that topic, not to interrupt them, but to say if the intent of the board is to have a state fire marshal come into the property, I will leave you have my name and address and number, and I will welcome him or her into the property to inspect in any way the town sees fit. Just to speak on behalf, and I know you've spoken to Mr. Fairbrother, who has been part of this the whole way through. I know where, I owned a property there for about 1.5 years. I submitted my papers and pictures and circles and arrows like Alice's Restaurant to the Architectural Review Board. They approved it. When I was found, I know we don't have building inspectors, but we use land use, and I heard some of that from the town manager. I immediately came in and sat before the town manager and Fairbrother to get compliant, fill out the forms and fill out everything and all the circles and arrows and everything there is possible. What I did is not, or what we did in our project is not unique to us. It is found out throughout that whole property everywhere. I know there was a whole number of issues, and I can't recall all of them. I mean, snow falls equally upon all of our roofs. I'm also a New Hampshire resident. I live in a town not much bigger than this one. So I'm not some renegade mudroom maker. Like, I'm just trying to have a place to have jackets. And even though Mr. Trani expressed, all sorts of opinions that vary, it's my luck that maybe he's right. So very unique, like not normal to me. I employed a real estate lawyer to say, hey, regardless of how I feel about him, is he correct or not relative to the deed structure? That's pretty convoluted with this nested deed structure there. It's not normal, simple. It's like those Russian dolls that are nested. There's all sorts of nested deeds, but that's a construct in Grafton County. And she looked at all the precedent and read all that kind of stuff, because I thought, hey, if I'm wrong, I'll move the damn door. I don't even want to pay for tile. If I have to move the door, if I have to do it, I have to. That was an easement and a walkway before the door was there, so the snow risk has not changed because there's a door versus what it was for the last 40 years since original construction. And we chose and got approved to put the door there. Plain and simple. But if the town still feels it desires to send a state fire marshal in there and take, I don't know Mr. Paul's last name. I remain at the service of the town. I'm just trying to have a mudroom, and if you deem so, please call me. I will be there and make sure the door is wide open so he or she can come in and do that. But I believe that Mr. Tarani has a deed law issue. He can hire a lawyer and adjudicate that himself through a court of law, because I wouldn't think it's the purview of either the selectman board or an HOA association to, you know, adjudicate deed law. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not that guy either, just as an aside. I just came to listen. I appreciate the consideration you guys had and the time you spent going to look at my stuff and your comments tonight. So again, if something comes up, I will leave my name and number on the form. I put my name there. I will fill out the rest of it. And if there's anything that you guys would like to have now or in the future, I will leave you my cell phone and I will answer any questions you may have. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Two very quick.
Sure, go ahead.
First of all, do we plan to have a school officer in place at the start of the school season?
We do.
That is our intention.
About it, budgeted for it.
Yes.
At the time, so that when the school opens again in the fall, there'll be an officer.
That is correct.
Excellent. And the second question has to do with the skateboard park. I know we've done some work over there. Do we have a date when we expect to have that completed?
We are on the schedule. We are waiting for the skate park construction company that literally builds the park to fit us into their schedule. Our fingers are crossed that it's going to be this fall. However, the next spring is a real possibility as well. So we're on their schedule. We're just waiting for them to have some time to open up and yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. All right, as I said, we have one legal issue, this letter from our attorney, and one employee issue, a letter, personnel issue, a letter of complaint or.
I will make it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming. I'll make a
Thanks.
motion to go into non-public for those two issues.
Do you want to second that?
Huh?
Second, non-public?
No. Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Oh, goodness.